Hi guys, my name is Miss Morrison. I'm the 1 in 1.4 teacher. Welcome to the classroom. Okay, so in this presentation, I'm going to be answering some questions about my creative writing course that's starting again in 2022. So I've had many parents showing interest in the creative writing class, but I feel like because this is quite different from what I usually teach, it's really important for you to understand what you will be getting from this course if you are to join. Okay, so let's move into the presentation. So here are 3 questions that I will be answering in this presentation. Question number 1, is there a prerequisite? Do you cover the 11 plus exam? Writing problems, how do I deal with writing problems that your child might be experiencing? What is covered in the class? Can you pick and choose units? What is expected from you as a parent? How long will the course take? And how much does the course cost? So I'm going to try to answer those questions as quickly as I can, but in a way that you'll fully understand. So the first question, is there a prerequisite for the course? Basically, yes and no. For the level that your child will be joining, the level B of the course, your child should have a reading age of around year 4. That means your child should be able to read picture books, they should be reading quite fluently, and they should understand some vocabulary words. That's the main thing they need to be able to do in order to go on to our level B course. They should understand also with this class that they will be required to write. If your child is struggling so much with writing that you can't get them to write at all and they're not going to be paying attention to the class, then it might not be a good class for them to do. They don't have to enjoy writing per se in order to do the class, because I will be here to strengthen them and help them with that, but they have to have an attitude of wanting to do well with their learning, and they have to understand that they will be required to write. So as long as you can get that across with your child and you think they'll be okay with the class, then that's okay. The reason why I say this is because your child will have quite a lot of homework to do, and if they already go to a school where they get lots of homework already from school, this on top of that could be a struggle for some children, so you have to bear that in mind before putting them onto the course. Another question I commonly get asked is, do we cover the 11 plus, the writing element of the 11 plus? So the answer is yes, but so we do cover 11 plus writing, because all 11 plus writing is children have to be able to write really well in order to pass the exam at the end of different units. So normally with the 11 plus exam, children will take tests in verbal reasoning, non-verbal reasoning, maths and English, and if they do well on those elements, they would normally get invited back for the second element of the writing test, especially within the borough that we live in and the surrounding schools, because within the London Borough of Harrow we don't have many 11 plus schools, so you have to kind of apply for schools outside of the borough to places like Barnet, Essex, Buckinghamshire, Hertfordshire, things like that, if you want your child to do the 11 plus. So we do cover elements of the 11 plus, because obviously I know what is needed in the 11 plus exams, and we do cover that. However, this course is not a quick fix for writing. If you want to join this course, you have to be ready to take on the long haul of the writing. If you want something quite sharp and quick and sweet, you have to join our 11 plus writing course boosters that we do in the summer. Some of the things that we cover in the course that will be beneficial for those of you who want 11 plus training would be, we cover classical literature. So classical literature has got old language involved in it, lots of high level language like the Jungle Book. You've got things like Black Beauty and Peter Pan and things like that. We cover a lot of those books in this sort of lesson. We deal with lots of prose and high vocabulary. Dress ups, I'll talk to you a bit more about that as we go a bit further into the presentation. Something called the SOAP method, again, I'll go into that a bit more as you follow the presentation. There are several units in this course. Unit 3, Unit 7, 8 and 9 are the units that you need to pay attention to if you want your child to, be ready for the 11 plus exams. Okay, so writing problems. As mentioned before, your child will have to be aware that they will need to write in order to do well in this class. Some of the writing problems that I normally come up against are things like handwriting. Handwriting problems are normally down to the way the child is forming the letters. It's normally down to how the size of the letters, maybe they're too small, maybe they're too big, maybe they use both of those. Other writing problems is that their writing is illegible, and if the writing is illegible and it can't be read, the teacher cannot mark it, so they would have problems with that. We don't cover handwriting in this lesson, but I'm able to check your child's writing and let you know which areas you need to focus on at home. Sometimes it's just down to certain joins of the letters that the child is getting wrong, but we haven't got time in this course to deal with the actual handwriting lesson, so that will be your job to do. for their homework, but you will have direction from me in order to show you what sort of things you can do at home to help them. We do require children to write in the session, but when they get home, for the work that they have to hand in to me, that work should be typed anyway. So the handwriting, you'll focus on that yourself at home to try to fix those errors, but just be aware that the work that they submit to me will be typed anyway. So you would need to have access to a computer in order to do that. Other writing problems could be things like spellings. Sometimes children really struggle with different spelling errors, and we do deal with that in the lesson because your child is required to write the correct spelling before submitting the work. So they have several drafts to write. The first writing draft will be based on them using their thoughts to write things down. As they progress through the course, they will then have to neaten their work and make their work better. So as they make their work better, they will be focused on the spelling errors that they made for the first draft. But again, keep watching because I will be focusing a bit more on that as we go through the course as well. And the third writing problem is just down to the attitude of writing. So we do help with that. I'm here to encourage your child, to let them know that they're doing really good with their writing. As long as they're following the model and they're following everything that I've taught them, then they'll do absolutely fine on this course. So what is covered in this writing course? This is level B, this presentation, and level B has got 9 units involved. Right, so unit 1 is about note taking and outlining and writing from notes. Some of the work that they'll cover in unit 1 is about the blue-ringed octopus and the carnivorous plants. In unit 2, they'll be looking at some foods that are disgusting or delicacies. So looking at different foods from different cultures, and children will be able to get the chance to write about those. And we also have some writing based on the Komodo dragon and the eagle and the jackdaw. So these two, they'll just be having their text, a source text. They'll be given the information and they've got to take out the key information from the text in unit 1. And from unit 2, they use that key information there and they'll be writing their own sentences using lots of dress ups in their writing to make the writing even better. In Unit 3, this is about retelling narrative stories. This is quite good for those of you looking for 11 plus exams. It's helping your child to write, to retell stories that they've already read. We usually cover things like Aesop's fables in this piece of writing, but they can change the words and change the character's own as well. But this one, again, we just keep building up on the dress up learned from the previous section, and we introduce them to things like strong verbs, banned words. Banned words are things like say and said, words that we don't want them to use anymore in their work, and that we teach them better ways of using those words. So like the words think and thoughts, they wouldn't be allowed to use those words anymore, and they have to use better words to show what they want to say. This is the model that we use for Unit 3, where they have to ask themselves questions about the story. They learn about the character and the settings, the conflict and the problem, because every story needs to have a conflict and a problem, otherwise it's a bit boring. And they learn about the climax and the resolution. How does that problem get solved? They learn how to ask themselves questions, which is a skill that many adults can do, but children need to be taught how to ask themselves questions, and they learn how to bring their writing to a close with a moral message at the end. Unit 4 is about summarising a reference. I teach them that summarising means taking little bits of information from their source text to make a piece of writing. So summarising is take some parts out to make it to make sure you've got a little bit of information, but I showed them how to use a key information from that reference. And we also introduced them to some more banned words, go and went. And the books that we sort of read are classical books like Captain Hook as well. And then we also teach them about the topic and clincher rules. So the topic sentence is the very first sentence that should be powerful and just to explain what that paragraph's about. And I showed them how to use a clincher sentence at the end, which kind of shows them how to bring in words from the topic sentence into their final sentence so that the writing flows even better. It's really good for essay writing. And we also have lots of literature suggestions as well. So as you can see over here, we've suggested the Children's Homer book for children to read at home as well. Alright, so Unit 5 is about writing from a picture stimulus. So the child will be given a picture and they'll have to write about that picture. So they've got lots of question words that they can ask themselves. Many question words, parents, we do this naturally already, but for children, they've got to be taught the different question words and how to ask themselves questions. So the questions would be things like who is in the picture? What can you see? When was this picture taken, or when did it happen? Where is it happening? What is this, where is the setting? Why did it happen? What happened before? What happened after? What happened outside in terms of the setting? What's going on around the picture, basically? So they'll ask themselves lots of questions about the picture. They'll write them down in keywords on the side, and then they'll take this information to write up what they have seen. So some of the banned words in here would be banned words like good and bad. They'll also be introduced to our WW Asia clause, which is an acronym for different words that they can use in their writing as well. Okay, in Unit 6, it's very similar to Unit 4, where they were summarising a reference, but in Unit 6, they'll be summarising multiple references. So one reference would be source 1. It'll be about the same topic, so just say it was about elephants. It's like when you go to a library, they might pick out 3 different books about elephants, but I'm showing them how to take out the main information from each of those sources and put it into a fused outline. Okay, so they'll be taking source 1, source 2, and source 3, putting out information based on a certain topic, and then writing a fused outline in there. And then we have inventive writing. As I explained at the beginning, inventive writing is normally where people tend to start in courses and in schools. So because the child has had lots of work already at the beginning with things like keyword outlines, looking at keywords, looking at topic sentences and clincher sentences, by the time they get to inventive writing, they're able to think of things themselves. So I could give them a subject like my dog. Just say that we're writing about a dog. We give them the skills to know how to pull the information out of their brain, because with inventive writing, they don't have anything else in front of them. They've got to think about what's in their mind and asking themselves questions to help them to write creatively. Now, this section here is quite good for those children taking 11 plus exams, children that need to learn how to write from a prompt and things like that, helping them to write whilst they're on their own and to be confident in their writing. So we'll show them all the things to do there. And another suggestion for reading would be The Hobbit, that they can also read as well. Okay, so there's the model for the inventive writing model as well. All right, Unit 8, we still do this in Level B, and this will be about the formal essay model. Okay, so we'll be focused on plastic and Oceania. They will have, this is where they learn about topic A, B, and C, and also having an introduction and a conclusion. So don't worry, you might be thinking, my child is only in year 3 or year 4, how are they going to do this? But if they've already covered the units at the beginning, units 1 and 2 with note taking and outlining, unit 4 with summarising a reference, if they've done okay at that point there, they'll move into this one quite quickly. You'll be quite surprised at what your child can actually do. It just means that your child will be writing a lot more at this point, but all they're doing is kind of learning how to write a really good paragraph at the beginning. So if you know how to write one good paragraph, then there's no difference in writing 2 or 3 or 4 good paragraphs also. But you'll see that when they do this class, that everything is possible. And then the final unit is Unit 9. This is about a formal critique. Children quite like knowing that, oh, I've done a formal critique. I've learned how to critique somebody else's work. That means that they can tear it down and say what they don't like about it, what they do like about it. It's a bit like a book review, but rather than just saying to a child, write a book review, we're telling them to critique it. So that I find that the writing gets a lot better and it's a lot more imaginative when they're critiquing somebody else's work. So again, there's some literature suggestions about what we do in that course as well. And in week 24, we do a timed essay, which again is beneficial for those children taking the 11 plus exams or, SATs exams, end of term exams that will be assessed by their teachers in school as well. And that's the formal critique model over there. So as well as covering the writing and the different units, there are other things that we do in the children's writing to make their writing even better than it could be. And that's by introducing things like dress-ups, sentence openers, and decorations. Dress-ups include things like adverbs, like the 8 parts of speech. You've got ly adverbs, the who, which clause, you've got the strong verbs, you've got because clause, many things like that, what they've learned already at school, but we show them how to use these in their writing by introducing each one slowly. So in Unit 1, we might only introduce one of the dress-ups, which will be the ly adverb. By Unit 2, they'll be introduced to like the who, which clause. Unit 3, another one, and we keep going until we get to the end of the units. That way, they've learned a little bit about each unit and know how to use it in actual writing, in the actual compositions before moving on, rather than bombarding them and saying, okay, your work has to have a metaphor here and a simile here and this dress up here and this dress up there all at once. We show them slowly how to build up their piece of writing by including all of these dress ups. That also includes things like sentence openers, like prepositional phrases. You've got the subject, you've got ing words, which are verbs, and then you have the decoration words like the SOAP method. The SOAP method are things like the similes, onomatopoeias, alliteration, and personifications, things like that. We show them how to use those in their writing to make their writing even better. So some other questions then. So can you pick and choose units? It's not possible to pick and choose units in year 1 of the course, no. Okay, so what is expected from you, the parent? Right, so you're expected to help your child with the mechanics of writing. So there are 4 things that you have to help your child with. One of those is capitalization, the other one is end marks, the other one is spellings, and the other one is checking that your child's work makes sense. That's the only 4 things that you need to help your child with. Everything else I will be doing. Okay, so with checking your child's capitalization, you've got to check that they're using capitalizations at the beginning of their sentences and for proper nouns. Proper nouns are things like special names of places. Okay, then you've got to check that your child has used the correct end mark. So the end marks are things like question marks, full stops, or exclamation marks. You've got to make sure that they put the end marks in the right place. The next thing you've got to check is your child's spellings. When your child has written their first piece of work, you've got to check the work for them. If there's a word in there that they spelt wrong, you can be their human dictionary. That means you can just tell them what the correct spelling is or help them to locate that spelling in a dictionary. But you're there to help them with the writing so that they can write creatively and write well. So the first draft that they write is just there for them to write down freely what's in their mind. And we're not going to stop them from writing, they just have to write freely. After they've written freely, that's where the check comes in from you. They've got to give me their best work so that when I get to mark it at the end, I can either write an I or an A on the work. What that means is an A stands for achieved. If your child has achieved their work, they get an A, and every child wants again A. If your child has incomplete work, that means that they haven't covered everything on the checklist. I'll write down an I, and that means I'll have to go home again and have to check their work again and resubmit it to me. But in order for your child to get an A, you need to be making sure that you're involved in their learning and are helping them with those 4 things. And the final one is if their work makes sense. You've got to get them to read their work back to you, read it word by word by word, and check if the work is making sense. If it's not making sense, help them to rewrite it to make it make sense. If they do need more help with this, I'm also here to help you, but the main thing is that that's the areas that you're expected to help them with at home. And yeah, just discuss any mistakes with them. If the child keeps submitting work to me that has not been checked by a parent, they can only have 3 strikes and then they're out, because that shows that you're not able to help your child at home and they're not going to get the best from the class if that's happening, basically. How long does the course take? The course takes 24 weeks, or it could take up to 30 weeks. The course that's running in the new year will only be 21 weeks, so we might not get onto the formal critique unit at the end for level B, but we'll see how we go and how quickly the children work to see if we can manage getting up to the end of unit 3. Otherwise, we're only going to really be covering unit 1 to 8 with a little bit of unit 9. Okay, so the course costs £900 per year, broken up into 10 monthly instalments. Because we're starting this course in January, the remainder amount of the course will be £630 over a 7-month period of £90 a month. So basically the way it works is you're paying for the course, you're not paying for the weeks that your child attends, you're paying for the course. So for 7 months you'll pay £90 per month. So from the 1st of January until the 1st of July, it'll be £90 a month plus a one-off fee of £25 for the student folder. And there you go. So that's information about this course. If you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. I will leave my number in the link below, or I'll just give you my number. You can just ask me for my number and I'll give it over to you. I hope that makes sense to you, and if you're still interested in joining the course, please sign up as soon as possible because spaces do go very quickly. Alright, I'll speak to you all soon. Have a lovely Christmas. God bless. Bye.